Esteemed audience, it's informative,
It's entertaining,
with more intellectual teams.
and it's always interactive.
It's the Great Debaters Contest Season 8. I am your host, Chris Boru.
And I am Esperantia Kapanga. And this week we are camped in the Mount Kenya region, Nyeri region. And the motion on the table today is, reducing inequality is a myth that cannot be achieved.
Proposing this motion, we have Kihatha Secondary School.
And opposing the motion, we have the ladies from Mumbi Girls High School.
Can it be achieved or can't it be achieved?
Ladies and gentlemen on stage will tell us. Proposer number 1, you have 3 minutes.
All the way from Kihatha. Presenting, it's John Kafue. Strongly proposing the motion that says, reducing inequality is a myth that cannot be achieved. I know you ask yourself, what is reducing? Just take an example of telling the judges, to reduce 1 apple from the plate. Is it possible? That's the same way you can't tell me to reduce my food from my plate. Inequality. What is inequality? This is the unfair difference. I made this something that it is just a false belief. So it's a false belief to believe that it's possible to reduce the inequality. On to my first point, geographical distribution. Am I the one who said that the earth should be covered with 70% water and 30% land? From biology, we learned that the land was once a pagea, but we come to find that the land has been covered with 70% of water. Let's take an example of a country like Canada. The country is covered by 70% forest and 30% the land that the other people live. That is the same way. Inequality is something that it is unfair difference. 70% being the forest and 30%, that is unfair. So do not be there to tell me that we can reduce the inequality. It can't be achieved. Let's take an example of royal families. We come to find like a child of the president, someone who is a government agent. Is it possible for a child from a hustler's family to achieve a good education, while someone from a government agent family is the one who is, the facilities are always there? So to tell me that we can reduce the inequality, that is something that is not possible. Let's take an example also of climate changes in Africa. Some places are cool, others are hot, desert, semi-arid. That is a good example of inequality. Those places are different, but it's unfair. How can you tell me that you can equalize? How can you equalize Sahara Desert and a place like Equatorial Guinea, a place where we come to find that the climate is good? So please join me to propose the motion that says reducing inequality is a myth that can't be achieved. Thank you.
First proposer, you have 3 minutes to present your case.
I stand here a disturbed soul, deeply disturbed by the fact that young youth, energetic youth, youth with potential are resigning without giving up a battle. Where is the energetic youth, the charisma, the agility that belongs to the youth to fight any mountain that comes along? That is why I, Ricardo Camoro from Mumbi Girls, stand here strongly to oppose the motion that reads, reducing inequality is a myth that cannot be achieved. And I want us to note kindly that it is not eradicating. It is simply bringing down the extent, making less in quantity, minimizing. If I give you a plate of food or a 2 kilogram cake, you will not be able to finish it. Of course, that is common sense. But what will you do? You will reduce its quantity. Inequality, it is the unfair difference between any two particulars, two parties. What is a myth? It is something that people believe in, but it is not true. An illusion, a mirage, something that cannot be grasped. Reducing inequality is a myth that cannot be achieved. I oppose the motion. Who began the saying that it cannot be achieved? What is the genesis of it all? One person started it, and I, Ricarda, can start by opposing the motion. First of all, education. By Nelson Mandela, he said that education is the most powerful tool that you can use to change the world. It is an equalizer of the child of a servant and the child of the master. It gives us equal grounds and equal chances. Because of this same education, I, Ricarda Kamoro, have a chance to even vie for the presidency of the United States of America because of the same education, equalizing me, a child from maybe a less fortunate background, with a child who lives in one of the G7 countries. An example from our very own, born and bred in Kenya, our Deputy President, William Samoei Ruto. He rose from the ashes. Through education, he fought and stood against all odds, standing tall right now as the Deputy President of this great nation. It seems impossible until it is done. And reducing inequality is a myth that cannot be achieved, should be opposed with the strongest terms possible. Yes, it can be achieved. My name, Ricarda Romboi.
Second proposer, you have 3 minutes for rebuttal.
Foxes have holes. Physicians offer medicine. But for me, I'm not a qualified physician to give this injection. But due to the inequality we have in our country, I have to. My fellow opposer here just said of education. I have a question. How many schools do we have in our country, and also we have the inequality in the country? Can you please elaborate for us further how education will lead to balancing of the inequality? Brand Mushemi, Kihatha Secondary School. Gender inequality. We have gender inequality in our societies. One, it was well believed that women, they were denied that chance for leadership. But the government got in and they tried the much benefit on how these leaders would lead this society. But end of it all, they ended up forgetting the male child. For me, gender inequality, we have to work hard for equalizing the gender we have. On to my second point, economic status inequality. It is well believed that for you, for example, to have a leadership chance, you must be from a royal family. And this, I can also allude from the Bible. Jesus was rejected by the Jews because he was not from the royal families. Also, take for instance, I'm here, I am a young man. I may have the leadership qualities in me. But for instance, if I vied for this presidential seat, who will vote for me? In fact, only my babe and my mommy and my daddy. Why? This is because I'm not from a royal family. So this is an inequality that has been there. For you to lead, you have to be from a royal family. Also, onto my third point, we have racism. This is another thing that affects our equality in the society. Take for example, I'm a young man. I have the talent for a certain thing. But because of my color, I'm denied this chance. So, if we had been given that opportunity, we would be productive in our society. And also, I have a question to leave you. Why, I'm not judging the Bible, but why was man created first and the lady was created from man? We have a reason behind that. I rest my case.
Second opposer, you have 3 minutes for cross-examination.
As our esteemed oncoming visitor once said, His Honorable Barack Obama, yes, we can. I strongly believe we can reduce inequality. And I would like to answer the proposer who asked how education is a great equalizer. He said that only the royal people are able to become president. If he vies to become the president, I quote, only my babe, my mother, and my father can vote for me. But, as the first proposer said, our own deputy president, he gave his own example. He never came from a rich family, but he went through the same education system as someone from the rich families. And through that, right now, he happens to be our deputy president. I believe right now, after the amendment of the Constitution, the devolved government, 15% of the national revenue goes to the ministries, that is the devolved units. For example, right now we are preparing for the start of the financial year, which is going to be announced on 1st July. The Ministry of Finance, they're taking into consideration population, poverty levels in counties. And for that, for example, let's take Marsabit. Marsabit is a marginalized area, but through devolved government, they're going to give them much funds than Nairobi County, which is developed. And isn't this going to bridge the gap between Nairobi and Marsabit? It is going to equalize them. It is going to give them a chance to become a better county. Opening of trade barriers. Our President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, during his inauguration, he stated that Kenya is open to trade with anyone from any country in Africa without a visa. You only need your identity card. Isn't that going to equalize us? Isn't that going to make us better people? Isn't that going to bridge the gap between Kenya and South Africa, Kenya and Egypt? Legislation. Right now we have a third gender rule, where in the parliament we need women. And as far as I'm concerned, my history teacher told me that in the early 19th century in America, women were not allowed to vote. But right now, women are allowed to vote. For example, let's take Kenya. We have three governors, female governors, and maybe a fourth oncoming one in Machakos County. We never know. And that is why legislation, through affirmative action, it has reduced inequality. Now, Murang'a is my county, Mumbi Girls is my school, and Peace Koinange is my name. Thank you.
The proposers have been asked. Initially in Kenya, there are communities that denied girls their chance to go to school while their counterparts, the boys, used to go to school. But currently there are ladies who actually go to school. Isn't that a form of inequality that has been reduced? The opposers, on the other hand, have been asked, after stating that education is a way of reducing inequalities, what happens to those of us who cannot actually access education? Proposer number 3, you have 3 minutes to answer the question.
I'm Kelvin Karuki from Kihatha Secondary School, strongly proposing the motion that reducing inequalities are made that cannot be achieved. Yeah, reducing inequality. truly it's a myth that cannot and will never, ever be achieved. All right, let me now answer the question that was posed to us on the proposer side. Well, one of us asked us that initially, for the case of males, initially, they were given education, but for the case of the females, as in there was that kind of male chauvinism whereby the females were more preferred than males, and they were given education than females. All right, and you're asking that today, if they are all given education, isn't that a form of reducing inequality? Well, let me say that yet, it has not yet reduced inequality. Why do I say that? Okay, it's all right, they'll all get education. Nobody's against that. But well, now, when it comes to applying this education, because we now come from secondary level, we go to the university level, they've gotten the education. For example, maybe when you talk about maybe vying for a leadership post. All right, now let's take a male who is educated and a female who is educated. Let us look at our country right now. Who are the people that are mostly in leadership? Keeping in mind that all these people are still educated. They are already educated, male and female. But when you look at the quantity, or rather the amount, the largest percentage of people that are in leadership, they are males. So generally, despite the fact that education has been given to them, inequality still proceeds. Because even in leadership, even though they are all educated, those people who hold most leadership positions, they are still females. As in, they are still males, pardon me for that. So, just to emphasize also on proposing the motion that truly inequality is a myth that can never be achieved. All right, let me just stress on this issue about competition. Well, you know, you all know what competition is about. It's just a matter of trying to outdo each other. It's a matter of, I don't want you to be equal with me. I want to be better than you. So when we focus on competition, let us look at competition in business. Let us look at superpower countries of how they are competing, who will be the best than the other. Let us focus even in education. Generally, when you look at the issue of competition, we truly agree that reducing inequality is a myth that cannot be achieved, because nobody wants to be defeated. Everybody wants to be ahead of the other. Everybody wants to shine. Everybody wants to be achieved. We cannot get rid of competition, and we agree on that. We cannot get rid of competition. It will continue from generations to generations. So anyway, competition by itself bringing a form of inequality. So that truly agrees with our motion that truly reducing inequality is a myth that cannot be achieved. Let us focus on the issue of education. All right, we've been told that education can equalize somebody who is poor. Okay, education can equalize somebody who is poor and somebody who is rich. But just as my colleagues here were saying, these people, they are all educated. But now, when you focus on the issue of employment, because our country right now is currently so corrupt, so you need, even though you are educated, you need a bribe. You need to bribe that person to give you that job. So you'll get that person who is rich will get an upper hand than you, even if you are educated. So I strongly agree that reducing inequality is a myth that can never be achieved and will never ever be achieved.
Opposer, you have 3 minutes to respond to your question.
Let me ask you a question. Which Kenya do you live in? Because as far as I'm concerned, the national government has introduced free primary and secondary education. So a matter of that person who's not educated, it is not about inequality, it is choice. The government itself has given you that opportunity to go to school. It has paid you your school fees, but you do not want to go. So that is what is causing you to be uneducated. Education is indeed an equalizer. Yes, that is said. And you've talked about the people in parliament. The government itself has tried to reduce inequality by, one, a third gender rule. That is aimed at creating more opportunities for the women to come into leadership. That is a step forward for Kenya. That is a step taken to reduce inequality.
Because we are not talking about completely eradicating inequality. We're talking about reducing. Among the big four agendas of the national government is universal health care. The government has taken that a notch higher by even introducing NHIF to even us. You ask yourself, why go through all that trouble to give us NHIF? It is because the government is aiming at reducing the inequality. A person who comes from a well-off family will go to a country like Japan, India, Cuba to get treatment. How about that person who's there and does not have money to go to wherever he's going, to go to a place like India? And that is why the government has found it fit to bring NHIF so that I come from the marginalized area of Kabuku, so that when I'm sick, Cuban doctors are here, so that I can get an opportunity to be treated. I also have a right to get medical care. And that is why the government has brought that NHIF fund. Thank you.
Proposers, you have 1 minute for final submission.
You mean you want to convince us and intimidate us that reducing inequality is possible? It's completely impossible. You've told us that people who are educated, you have told us that education can equalize people. How many people in Kenya, not only in Kenya, even in other parts of the country, are educated, but unfortunately, they are jobless? How many? When you talk about NHIF, the country has provided NHIF, name them, to provide people with health facilities. But if you look in terms of economic status, then it's impossible. How can I, from a poor background, be able to achieve the amount of money that is being paid for NHIF, whereas the one who from a rich family is able? So please join us, since it is impossible to reduce the inequality, which is a SGD number 10. I rest my case. Thank you.
Proposers, you have 1 minute to make a final statement.
I would like to remove the mentality, to rid you of the mentality of we cannot do it. Let us not digress from the motion. It is not about corruption, as the opponents had said, but it is rather an issue about inequality. It is not a matter of being educated. It is a matter of what you do with your education. You also talked about gender. Boys and girls, we are all unique in our own way. Therefore, platforms have been put, like the 1/3 gender rule, to ensure that we have fair, credible, the same grounds competition. And as I had said, from the basics, we are all in uniforms. Why? To equalize us. We are all seated down. Why? To equalize us. And if we say that inequality cannot be achieved. What are we doing? I refuse to sit down and say that it cannot be achieved. As I had said, it is possible to achieve it. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
I'll start with Kihatha. We have John, Brian, and Kelvin. John, when you came the first time, Given that they are the first speaker, you must always remember your part, the part you're supposed to play here. The definitions which must take us to understanding what you want to talk about. You did not do that. And definitely that made it clear that even the topic was not properly understood. I could hardly follow what you're saying. You are not coherent. So generally, as the first speaker, you should have done your homework, proper research, because that is what will always support what you have to say. Brian, you came in second, and you made an attempt to cross-examine. But again, you pointed one, you also did not seem to have a touch with the topic. You did not explore. Kelvin, you've come in. It is a plus for you. You are the only debater, I would say, that brought out confidence, that brought out passion and conviction. The fluency in your language also is a plus to your team.
I would like to start by saying this. Any information you receive comes from a source. And that's why it is important for any debate, anytime you come for debate, to always accredit where you got the information from, okay? Be it huge statistics that are factual, even if it's a story that you had, you better say, my neighbor told me. It's better that way, all right? So it is important you don't just come and give examples without telling us where you got that from. And this cuts across both teams. Even you, Ricardo, when you come and talk about the deputy president example, just say, maybe it's written somewhere. Tell us, when you read this, this is what it says, okay? Because there is a source. Even if it was your teacher who told you, just say, my teacher told me. It is better that way, all right? I must say there was a bit of what I would call, we hoped we could get more in terms of research when it comes to inequality. But I want to appreciate the examples, especially the education example that you gave. I think it revolved around both teams. To the girls, well done. I think that was good teamwork. We could tell that there was a level, we couldn't tell that this is as stronger than the other or the likes. It was good teamwork all across. Ricardo, for defining and even starting with the quotes from Mandela and the examples that you give, just ensure that you validate. To Peace as well, peaceful submissions indeed, yes, good cross-examination. And you gave at least better examples when you talked about opening trade barriers. And I think you could have gone even deeper to tell us now how this has reduced this inequality or has addressed the inequality agenda that we have, okay? By opening up those trade barriers that we're talking about. Lucy, fair enough. I think the NHF example was quite on point. Just make all arguments factual. All the best. We'll wait for the results. Kihatha High School, 65%. Let's give them a round of applause. Mumbi Girls, you were awarded 68%, making you the winners of this debate. As a great quote says, in life we face many defeats,
but we must not let ourselves be defeated. That's it at the Great Debaters Contest. Today we would like to appreciate our sponsors, Blaze by Safaricom and Brand Kenya Board, for facilitating this. The conversation still continues on all our social media platforms, #GDC for SDGs. I have been your host, Esperancia Kapanga.
And I am Chris Boru. Until next time, see you same place, same time.